Gabriel Martinelli at the World Cup has just reminded everyone what his real weapon is: a massive goal for Brazil, a late World Cup moment, the kind of moment that makes people stop and ask a different question, because this case is not just about one goal, it is about what that goal reveals. When Martinelli is released into the right space at the right time, his best qualities come alive: speed, blindside movement, runs between defenders, directness into the box. So the question is no longer whether Martinelli can still hurt teams. He clearly can. The real question is more uncomfortable. Why does the Martinelli who looks dangerous for Brazil not always look the same for Arsenal? So today, we open the case file. Martinelli's role. Is he out of form? Or is Arsenal using him wrong? Now let's be careful with the case. This is not about pretending one Brazil goal solves everything. It does not. One goal does not erase every question about Martinelli at Arsenal, but one goal can reveal a pattern, and that is what matters here. Because when Martinelli looks most dangerous, the same things keep appearing. He is not standing still. He is not waiting for the game to come to him. He is moving early. He is attacking the blind side. He is running between defenders. He is arriving in areas where his speed becomes a weapon, not just a physical trait. That is the part Arsenal must study, because if Martinelli's best moments come when he is released into space early, then the real question is not only about his form, it is about the conditions Arsenal create around him. A player can look ordinary when the role suffocates his strengths, and he can look dangerous again when the role gives those strengths oxygen. Now this is where the tactical file starts to build. Martinelli's danger is not just speed, that is the lazy version. Plenty of players are quick. What makes Martinelli dangerous is when the speed is connected to timing. He moves before the pass is obvious. He attacks before the defender has adjusted his body. He starts the run while the fullback is still watching the ball. That is why the blind side matters. When a defender has to turn and chase, Martinelli's advantage grows. But if he receives the ball late, if he receives it standing still, if he receives it wide with two defenders already set, then the weapon is reduced. That does not mean Martinelli has no responsibility. He still has to make better decisions. He still has to improve in tight areas. But Arsenal also have to ask whether they are giving him the right moments to attack, because Martinelli is not at his best when the game waits for him. He is at his best when he moves before the game catches up. This is why the Brazil moment matters. Not because it proves Martinelli is suddenly perfect. It does not. But because it reminds Arsenal what his best version looks like. The dangerous Martinelli is not passive. He is not standing wide and waiting for a perfect 1v1. He is scanning, he is moving, he is attacking the gap before the defender understands the danger. And that is the version Arsenal need to unlock more often, because when Martinelli is forced to receive the ball with the whole defense already set, his game becomes harder. He has to beat the fullback, then beat the cover, then find the final action in a crowded area. That is a completely different task from attacking a channel early. So the question is not simply, can Martinelli dribble better? The better question is, can Arsenal create earlier, cleaner running moments for him? Because if they can, the Brazil version of Martinelli is not a mystery. It is a usage problem waiting to be solved. Now this is where Arsenal have to take responsibility as well. Because yes, Martinelli must improve parts of his game. His final action can be sharper. His decision-making in tight areas can improve. His 1v1 work against a set defender can become more reliable. But that is only half the case. The other half is the structure around him. If Arsenal want Martinelli to look like a true inside forward threat, they have to create the conditions for that role. That means releasing the ball earlier. That means finding him before the defender is settled. That means letting him attack the space between full back and center back. That means giving him situations where his first movement is dangerous, not where his first touch is already under pressure. Because when Martinelli receives too late, the attack slows down. The defender gets set, the cover arrives, the angle disappears. And suddenly, the same player who looked explosive for Brazil starts looking predictable for Arsenal. That is why this case is bigger than form. It is about timing, it is about service, it is about role. Now let's bring in the older Arsenal evidence, because the Brazil moment is current, but it is not isolated. Earlier this year, Martinelli also showed for Arsenal that when the game gives him the right running conditions, he can still punish teams. That matters, because we are not building this case on one international goal. We are looking at a pattern. When Martinelli can attack space early, he looks dangerous. When he can run between defenders, he looks dangerous. When he can arrive in the box with momentum, he looks dangerous. But when he is slowed down, isolated wide, or forced to create from a standing start, the picture changes. So the evidence is not saying Martinelli has no flaws. He does. The evidence is saying Arsenal must separate two things: a player's individual limitations and the tactical environment that either exposes those limitations or hides them. That is the difference between lazy criticism and proper analysis. Now this is where the debate becomes dangerous, because some people will take the Brazil goal and say, that proves Martinelli is back. Others will say, it was only one moment, do not overreact. Both reactions miss the point. The point is not that one goal solves everything, and the point is not that one goal means nothing. The point is that the goal reminds us what Martinelli's best attacking actions look like. He is not at his most dangerous when he is asked to pause, wait, and beat a fully settled defense from a standing start. He is at his most dangerous when he can attack the space before it closes. That is why the timing of Arsenal's left side matters. The pass has to arrive before the defender resets. The run has to be found before the gap disappears. The support around him has to create movement, not traffic. Because if Arsenal keeps slowing the picture down, they are not just slowing the attack, they are slowing Martinelli's best weapon. Now we have to be honest about Martinelli's responsibility too, because this cannot become an excuse file. Arsenal can create better conditions for him, but Martinelli still has to sharpen what happens after the run: the first touch, the final pass, the finish, the decision when the box opens, the ability to stay calm when the move becomes crowded. That is still on him. But the reason this case matters is because judgment has to be fair. You cannot judge a runner properly if the run is never found. You cannot judge an inside forward properly if he is always receiving the ball too late. And you cannot judge Martinelli's ceiling properly if Arsenal keep asking him to solve the hardest version of the same problem. That is why the Brazil moment matters. It does not remove responsibility from Martinelli. It reveals what Arsenal should be trying to unlock more often. Because the best version of him is not passive, it is not static. It is early movement, channel speed, and direct threat into the box. So where does that leave the case? It leaves us with a very different Martinelli debate. Not protect him at all costs. Not sell him because he frustrates people. Not one Brazil goal means everything is fixed. None of that is serious enough. The serious question is role, because the Brazil moment showed that Martinelli's weapon is still alive. The older Arsenal evidence showed the same thing. When he attacks space early, when he moves before defenders react, when he runs between fullback and center back, he still looks dangerous. But when Arsenal slow the picture down, when the pass arrives late, when he receives with defenders already set, the same player can look limited. That is why this case cannot be judged emotionally. It has to be judged tactically. If Arsenal want to keep Martinelli as a major part of the attack, they need to design more moments around what he does best. If they do not want to do that, then they have to be honest about the role they are asking him to play, because a player's form and a player's function are not always the same thing. So here is the verdict. Martinelli's Brazil moment does not prove every criticism is wrong, but it proves something Arsenal cannot ignore. The weapon is still there, the speed is still there, the blindside movement is still there, the ability to attack the box with purpose is still there. So the question cannot simply be, is Martinelli finished? That is lazy. The better question is, are Arsenal creating enough situations for his best weapon to matter? If Martinelli is used like a static touchline winger, Arsenal reduce some of the most dangerous parts of his game. But if he is released early, if he is allowed to attack channels, if the left side is designed around timing, movement, and service, then the conversation changes. That does not remove Martinelli's responsibility. His first touch, final action, decision-making, and composure still have to improve. but Arsenal also have responsibility. Earlier service, better movement around him, clearer role definition. That is the fair ruling. This is not just a form issue, it is a role issue. Case closed. If you want Arsenal analysis that looks past the headline and follows the evidence, this is exactly what Cannon Casefile is built for. The next case is already open.